Hello everyone. Hope all of you are staying safe and healthy. In our today's session, let's see how not having a citizenship or not having a country of origin to associate with can make an impact in one's life. So, did you know the story of Mehran Karimi Naseri? Never heard of him? Then let's see who is he. Nasiri was born in Iran. His father was an Iranian doctor and his mother was a nurse from Scotland who was working in Iran. So basically, he was an Iranian. And soon after his studies, just like most of the youths in the country, he took part in the Iranian Revolution where he protested against the Shah. He was also known as the Shahanshah. So in 1977, he was expelled from Iran. Also, just like the other protesters, he was also deprived of his Iranian citizenship. And now, all those who don't have citizenship are called refugees, correct? But even to call themselves as refugees, someone had to validate it. And the United Nations High Commissioner in Belgium awarded him the refugee status. And he was now legally permitted to reside in any of the European countries. He now wanted to settle down in UK as one of his parents was a Briton. So he started off from the French airport. When he landed in UK, allegedly his briefcase was lost which contained all his belongings, especially his refugee papers. Obviously, in the immigration office, if there is a person who cannot prove who he is or where he is from or which is his country of origin, why would they allow such a person to their country? So naturally, they sent him back where he came from, that was France. Even in France, he faced similar issues and he was initially arrested by the France police, but later he was released. Why? They found the evidence that he had the actual legal papers with him when he entered the airport. But unfortunately, right now, because he doesn't have any origin country to be returned to, he had to stay back in the airport and thus began his residence at the Terminal 1 of the France airport. Later, a French human rights lawyer took up his case to fight for his rights, but the court ruled that having entered the country legally, he could not be expelled from the airport, but he could never be given the access to enter into France. Hence, Mehran Karimi Naseri had to live in some corner of this Charles de Gaulle airport in France from 1988 till 2006. Eventually, the airport staff started taking care of his food and clothing, and many journalists traveled just to visit him and cover his story. Later in 2006, he was hospitalized, and it was for the first time in 18 years that he had left the airport. French Red Cross, which is an independent charity, took care of his hospital bills, and later they also provided him with a hotel room to stay within the airport premises. Finally, in 2007, he was transferred to a charity reception center and till date he stays in a Paris shelter as a stateless man. Few more things about his life are: he is also known as Sir Alfred Mehran. During his 18-year-long stay, he had his luggage by his side and he spent his whole time reading books and writing his diary. He also studied economics, and all this from the airport. Eventually, even his autobiography was published as a book, The Terminal Man. In fact, it was Naseri's story which inspired the Steven Spielberg's movie, The Terminal. Coming to our final section, today's takeaways. In the course of our lives, we would have come across homeless people, shelterless people. But here is a man who is stateless even till date. He is not the only person. There are so many other refugees across the globe. And yet, most of the time, we take our citizenship for granted. We compare our country to every other great things that other country has and criticize our country so easily. Now imagine not having a country of yours at all. Whom would you criticize then? All I'm trying to tell is, while criticism is important for development, we should never forget to be grateful for all the things that we have in our lives. Also, I could somehow relate his situation to ours during the lockdown. And this phase of just staying at home is continuing for almost third year now, correct? Of course, we all feel frustrated in the situation, but what good is it for us? If this man could survive 18 years in an airport, why can't we stay at home for a few months? And while being locked down, we can always find ways to make it productive. Use that extra time to cultivate a new hobby. Maybe go talk to your parents, they'll feel really happy. Or read books, they're really your best friends. And instead of whining over the things that you're not able to enjoy right now, take some time to realize that your life is so much more better than the others who are just dreaming to have the things that you have today. Then your life will look so much more beautiful and contented. Try it out. Until then, stay safe, stay inspired.